Welcome to another Troubadour Reacts. My name is Kirk and I am musically challenged. And tonight I'm going to be listening to a song recommended by a friend. And this one is Roy Orbison's Crying. Now, I just want to say that, of course, I have heard of Roy Orbison, used to Roy Orbison by this friend. I mean, that's not true. So I should say I have heard the songs when I was younger. I've heard Pretty Woman. I've heard a few of the songs, a few of the big hits. I didn't know the name Roy Orbison. I knew the song Pretty Woman. I've heard. So it's, introducing me is, in a sense, introducing me to who this man was, the artist that and that creative force that he was and what he was standing for. And that's what I'm trying to learn. So I'm going to listen to the song. I listened to the first couple bars of the song so that I could see if I had heard it before. And I'm pretty confident I've never heard this before. So I think this is a genuinely first reaction, which I always try to do on the show. I am going to try to look at the lyrics as much as possible and do like a reading, but I do think that lyrics are less, my view of music is that generally lyrics are less valuable or less prominent. It's not about the lyrics usually. But there are some exceptions, and maybe Roy Orbison's one of them. I think Dylan Thomas is one of them. He's an exception. It's definitely big. But I think I said Dylan Thomas. I meant Bob Dylan. But a lot of people said that he took his name from Dylan Thomas. Rage against the dying of the light. Okay, let's skip all this. That's the wrong person. We're talking about Roy Orbison. Let's hear Roy Orbison. By the way, I love I Drove All Night song, which I didn't actually hear until this friend of mine told me about Roy Orbison, and I listened to that song, and that was great. I really love that song. And of course, Pretty Woman, I really enjoy that as well. Okay, so let's just listen and see what we got.
I was alright for a while. I could smile for a while. But I saw you last night. You held my hand so tight as you stopped to say hello.
Okay, I might have heard this before actually. Now that I hear it.
You couldn't tell that I've been crying.
Okay, I've heard this. Sorry, I have heard this. That's okay.
Over you, then you.
Sorry.
Said so long, left me standing all alone and crying.
Now, who did the all black first? Was it Johnny Cash or Roy Orbison? You guys tell me the answer. I don't know. Or someone else.
But the touch of your hand can start me crying.
It's a good song.
I thought that I was over you, but it's true, so true. I love you even more than I did before. But darling, what can I do? For you don't love me, and I'll always be
It's an interesting concert. I'd love to hear some background of this and his approach.
And from this moment on, I'll be crying, 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 I'm crying. Oh,
Okay, that's really interesting. I want to let me do something here real quick. So I want to my first thought. So I'm pretty sure I've heard that or something like that. I mean, it sounds the way he does the crying like really brought back some memories. So I think there's definitely something there in terms of I've heard that song. So unfortunately, I don't think it's a first reaction, but it was interesting because I did have some questions and some thoughts about this that's worth looking into. Is so one, this is not the I did a reaction video for The Who where there's like they're going crazy. He's like throwing one of his drum sets into the crowd. Everyone's screaming, and there's you're eliciting a certain kind of reaction. This is much more, the people in the audience. It's not a massive audience, and they're just kind of sitting there, and they seem to be appreciating it. It doesn't seem like they're bored, but they're not, jumping up and down and screaming or anything like that. And, I don't know if because I know he was a big touring person. I know like he must have known how to get the audience going, but like here he seems to be not trying to do that, or it's not part of it. It's more like it's more like a symphony, right? It's more like you go to, you go to a concert, you put on your suit and tie, you sit down and you listen, and there's certain rules and, forms that you tend to take in. And that seems to be what he's doing. And it looked like a high school auditorium. So was that like Monument Valley or something like what was that? Monument. So I thought that was an interesting one. So I'd be curious from all of you what you think. I thought the lyrics were okay. I mean, I'm not, the whole song in general was very enjoyable. Was my first, whatever reaction this is. It was enjoyable, but I wouldn't say that I was blown away by anything. And again, I really like Drive All Night and Pretty Woman, but especially I Drove All Night. I really love that song. That song is great. And I will say that the lyrics definitely resonated with me because I think all of us, maybe women too, but I'm going to stick with guys. All us dudes have been in this scenario, right? So I'm going to read through the lyrics. I was a poetry teacher. On my podcast on Troubadour channel here, I do a lot of reading of poetry, of analysis and things like that. So I'm interested in, this is the closest we get, I think, are modern lyrics in these songs. So I'm going to read it. If you don't like that, I get it. Goodbye. It was nice. Thank you for coming. But, some people seem to like it, so I'm going to keep drawing it. So, okay, here are the lyrics for Crying. I was all right for a while. I could smile for a while. Then I saw you last night. You held my hand so tight. When you stopped to say hello, you wished me well. You couldn't tell that I'd been crying. So, okay, so it's interesting. The lyrics broke it down into these 4-line stanzas, but I don't think it actually, there's an enjambment here. Although it's usually in a quatrain like this, but I don't know what it's called when it says you couldn't tell, and then it keeps going into the next line without any punctuation, and it's a different stanza. But again, this is music, so it's not formally the same way, right? The form is different. So this could just be somebody on the internet putting this like this, and this is irrelevant. It just happened to break up like this. But okay, so you wished me well. You couldn't tell that I'd been crying over you. Okay. Cry. Yeah, I'll have to say there's been times, and maybe there's presently a time, I don't know, when it's like, I definitely, there's girlfriends in the past that this would fit, and I don't want to see that girlfriend. And this is why, right? And I think that's what he's referring to. And so what I'm getting is like, but the hiddenness of it, right? As a man, you don't cry in public, right? You don't cry in front of people. You cry by yourself. You cry alone. And that tends to be, and I don't know I think that might just be more of a Western thing, but because I do know, like in ancient Greece and there was a public crying, and that was actually not only acceptable, but it was somewhat expected in certain situations. I always tell the story when we're reading I think it's the Iliad, when Achilles is crying at a certain point when something isn't going as well his way. And, it's not a big to do, but it's okay, right? It's acceptable, even though this great warrior, the greatest of all the Greek and Trojan warriors, is crying. But the problem is that, when you don't ever let your emotions out. And that's something, I think that's happening here. But the point I'm trying to make with the Trojan example is that, whenever that comes up in a class or something I'm teaching, I always tell people to think about a funeral and how it's depicted in the West, in America in particular. Let's look at America and where you've been, where if you've ever been to a funeral, and often more than likely it's people dressed in black, right? Although now they're trying to do like celebrations of life, but you're dressed in black, you're quiet. If you're sad, you stifle your tears. You don't let them out. You don't cry in public, right? There's a lot of sniffles, but there's not wailing. And when you see depictions in art of, again, ancient Greece, but I think there's other pre-Christian eras. I think this is a Christian thing, and it's interesting why this happens with Christianity in particular. But when you have that, the depictions in art, it's often like wailing, and you would be tearing out your hair, you crying, and men will cry. You'll get a lot of this still in the Middle East, where men will be wailing in a sense. Now, the issue isn't wailing so that, again, I think the way that a lot of people in the Western men might interpret that is, wailing and crying is womanly, right? This is the issue. And where does that come from? It's not in your DNA. This is a cultural thing. And you could definitely cry and cry in public and let your wife and kids see you cry. And you can pick yourself up and be the greatest warrior in the world. That's the point, is you could do both. And I think, there's a prominent psychologist who I've talked about on the show in the past, but I won't, for the purpose of this, I won't mention him, but he cries a lot. And I think that's, I don't know if he's doing that intentionally, but I think there's some of that. Okay. Sorry, I know that was a big tangent, but you wished me well. You couldn't tell that I'd been crying over you. Then you said so long, left me standing alone and crying. Again, crying. And then the crying. But of course he's crooning it very beautifully. It's hard to understand that the touch of your hand can start me crying. I thought that I was over you, but it's true, so true. I love you even more than I did before. But darling, what can I do? For you don't love me, and I'll always be crying over you. Yeah, this is where I was like, yeah, there's a girl that I'm thinking of right now who this exactly fits. And this is true. And this is why, some people have asked me, like, can I be friends with my exes? And I'll just tell you this, I'll let you in on this little Kirkism. Yes, if I didn't really truly love them. And it's not that I knew that at the time, but it's later. So there's this has happened, a few times maybe where I've really, really been in love and I thought this is a lifelong thing. And that woman I cannot see again. It's over. I can't. If she breaks up with me or if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, this is exactly why. And it's just going to be crying over you. I'm getting sad just thinking about it. I can't do it. And I've tried. So yeah, anyway, so now you're gone. And from this moment on, I'll be crying over you. And very simple song, to the point, but that part is very poignant, very touching. And I think it's beautiful that he could encapsulate that feeling you have when you lose a girl that you genuinely loved and you're not going to be with them anymore. And this, again, is why you cannot. It's so funny. I was thinking about this today, and not connection to this at all. It was something else. And this is why it's like, I wish I could be friends with them. And I can't. I am friends with some of my other exes, actually. In fact, I introduced one ex, it was a long time ago, to her next boyfriend. And, and I was fine with that. Like, I was like, yeah, because it wasn't love on my part. But when I was really deeply romantically attached and wanted a lifelong, this was the feeling. And I think that's what this captures. And that's really nice. That's very pleasant and well done. So thank you for the recommendation. I hope you liked the reading and analysis. It's not as much to analyze as some of the Bob Dylan ones, but I think this one, the music is a little bit better. And I think his voice, I had to say, I like Roy Orbison's voice better than Bob Dylan, but Bob Dylan has more lyrical, poetic lyrics, at least so far. But again, I think if I'm driving down the street, on a road trip, I think it's probably going to be Roy Orbison over Dylan. But when I'm trying to think about things, I think it's going to be Bob Dylan a little bit more. But again, I like this moment. It's, now I'm going to go, munch on some chocolates and make myself feel better about remembering this girl that I'm going to be crying over. So thank you for listening and for making me cry after the video's done. Make sure you support the channel by going to Patreon, and you could also curate these songs by going there, becoming a Patreon curator of these reaction videos. You could tell me which songs you want me to react to and analyze. See you later.